Going good, you know.
I saw a photo of you. You were playing violin, I think, at Shauna's art show in Ojai.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I saw the blue hair and I'm like, what a cool look. I love it.
Thank you.
It's like
Thank you.
it's the blue Billie Eilish.
Yeah, well, it's actually so great because it's punky color. So
Yeah.
no bleach.
Okay, good.
No bleach. But it's because my hair is white.
Oh, is it?
So I'm letting it go white, which so eventually it's going to be all blue, man.
Oh, wow. It's going to be a little Smurf.
I'm so excited. I call it more like a blue angel rather than a Smurf.
Ooh, I like that. So how's it going? What are you up to?
What am I up to?
I mean, we've been down for what? Over 100 days now? It's crazy.
I know. I've been just doing my same thing, really. I've been doing, the things that I do when I'm not on tour, I suppose, but it's weird not to have shows or anything happening.
Were you supposed to be out on the road if that corona wouldn't have happened?
At least not with Alicia per se. There was some things that I was supposed to do that were awesome, like go play Minneapolis with some of my dear friends, and excuse me.
Oh, here's your girlfriend Valentine.
How's Juco?
Juco's good. Oh God, he's my saving grace. I would go nuts alone, living alone.
I know. It's crazy how great they are. Has he been freaked out because of the fireworks?
Not so much. He's been good.
Poor Val goes into total panic.
And
panting, like her breath gets bad. I feel like, oh my God, she can have a heart attack. It's so bad. I have to give her CBDs and stay.
But I was just going to suggest CBD works great.
I love the CBDs for her.
I love it also for humans.
I know it is good all around. But no, she's been challenged with the fireworks because they have that happen every night. It's like
even last night they don't stop. I get it.
I know, it's so scary.
Yeah,
it's scary.
What's the point? They're not good for the air. What's the point? They're not good for the air.
I do feel like
and it costs a lot of money. Don't we have other problems right now? Right?
It's so crazy. I know. And did you hear about the police officers not calling in sick on 4th of July?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Flu. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it was crazy. It was like the pictures of Los Angeles. You see all the fireworks. It was like crazy.
And the next morning, I thought it was foggy in the hills where I live. It was not foggy. It was all smoke.
I know. Bad respiratory, coughing, sneezing.
I actually started having a little bit of an upper respiratory, and of course we're all freaking out.
Of course, that's the scary thing.
Like, oh my God, a scratchy throat! I have COVID, you know. But I'm not freaking out. I don't know what you do. But
that was me last week. And I actually called to try to get a test, and it was like, I'm not going into a place now to get a test.
No, but you can do the drive-through stations, I think.
Yeah, where?
There's one kind of by Dodger Stadium, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm not going down to Dodger Stadium. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Only to play a show.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I know. Same. I got tested in Malibu a while ago, but yeah, I would only get tested. I'm thinking about
Did you do the antibody test or the?
No, the virus test.
Got it.
Yeah, but I'm feeling run down today, but I'm on a routine of like lipospheric vitamin C, glutathione, selenium, colloidal silver, zinc, and so forth. And and eating healthy and
well, you look great.
You look great, my friend. But thank you. I haven't worked out. That's the only thing. It's like I had in the beginning. I have a hard time maintaining a routine. How about you?
I've been every day. I love it so much. I don't know what I would do without it. And I'll send you a link because I love this lady so much. It's Sadie Nardini.
Oh yeah, you've told me about
And I know I'm like an uber fan of hers.
Yeah. Get me started. I need inspiration.
She has a website, and I started with her literally like probably when I first started touring with Pink in 2009. So I've done her for many, many years. 2009. Maybe
When
even
did you get
2008.
into yoga practice? Is that, but you got into yoga before that,
I
right?
was into yoga way before. I started yoga when I was in my early 20s. And I went to all sorts of, but I injured myself at the beginning, because so much of yoga back in those days was power yoga, and nobody I didn't take into consideration I wasn't strong enough. So I would get these little ganglions on my wrist.
Not good for a violin player.
Not good for a violin player. So I kind of shied away for it for a while, and I started doing weightlifting and getting stronger. And then when I went back to it, it was a whole different thing. I went to these incredible classes. I went to a bunch of different teachers and different classes, and I did that for years. And then on tour, I decided back to the video, because it's so much easier. And sometimes I go out and find a class out in the town, but there's just something so incredible to be able to wake up, put on your yoga, put on your own background music, make your own spa area, and be able to do. The great thing about Sadie is now she's doing these high intensity yoga. So it's like you sweat, but it's only 30-40 minutes.
I like
and
it.
She combines the slow, it's like the slow flow with the elevated heart rate. And I don't know, it's just, I feel like it's doing wonders for my body.
And
So
you know what I like too about what you just said about the routine, when you get up and you put your mat down and stuff and you start and it's intense, it kind of takes you to start thinking.
Yeah.
And because it gets you in the present moment, it's a really good setup for the day.
Yeah. Well, what I also do before that, the first thing every morning I've done for like the last since before COVID, is Wim Hof's breathing exercises.
Me too.
I do them every morning and I love them.
Do you do the one where you breathe in intensely and just let the breath go, and then you hold the breath out? And do you have an app where you time it?
I don't. I just do it on, if there's a YouTube, because I pay extra for the YouTube, so I don't have commercials. So he has a bunch of different versions on YouTube. And this one is 3 2-minute holds with a lot of breathing in between.
Yeah, it's like I do that 40 breaths, but like stronger on the in breaths, so you oxygenize your body and oxygenate your body. And then hold it out. And I have it like on the app, so I can track my my progress, and the holds have been so much longer now.
That's great.
You do the cold showers?
I did. Huh? Do
you do the cold showers too?
No, I'm not into that. I mean, I'm not doing hot showers. I'm moving to, lukewarm, but not yet.
Try it. It's like, I was always like, oh no, I want cozy and warm. And then I'm like, I did the ice bath at my friend's in Malibu, like fully immersing my body.
That's amazing.
But I was doing it under the guidance of this functional medicine doctor, Dr. Matt, who gives me also IVs and stuff. And he just talked me through, like, because we freak out, we go into fight and flight,
right?
And we stop breathing deep. And he just said, you're not going to die, it's fine. And then I was under the water for 3 minutes in the ice bath.
Amazing.
I felt euphoric. And then I said, okay, I don't have.
Did you deep breathing before?
No.
Huh?
I didn't.
You were held your breath for 3 minutes under the.
No.
Oh, no.
Breath, okay. But I was immersed in the ice cold water. And then at the end, I dipped my head in it too. But I was like, the effect of it was incredible. So I'm doing a little bit of I'm doing my normal shower. And then at the end, I'm just going to, turn off the hot and then do the same thing, like calm myself down, calm your heart rate down, just like you do when you hold your breath. We can really override some things that our old reptilian brain is still, that's kind of not very useful. And evolve as humans if we do that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like finding the magic underneath the things that, that we see. There's so much underneath everything that's happening. And our own bodies are like, it's amazing. It's just an amazing source of so much. I love Wim Hof's story. He's got such a great story.
Yeah, tremendous.
Yeah.
There's a great podcast with Joe Rogan where he's on.
I love Joe Rogan too.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's awesome.
So there he was, he's been on many, but he's also been on Russell Brand's and stuff. But he's a cool.
Russell's cool too. He's got a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, but that Wim Hof, wow. It's so, and if you think about it, it's so simple, but yet so powerful. And, you know, we don't need that much, like, but we have to be self-motivated. That's the thing. How do you self-motivate?
I think it is a matter of the plasticity of reprogramming, you know, and it's like the reward. It's like I get a reward from doing it because it makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some mornings, there's been just a few that I'm like, oh, I want to do this. Like I want to make it to some place because I've been sleeping a lot and sleeping late.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get up maybe a couple times. I've gotten up and I've like gone to farmer's market or something, but then I come back and I do it. And it just, there's something, it's the same with the yoga. I feel like
basically it's discipline, really. Discipline is also a way to freedom, I find.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that there's a lot of stuff attached to those words that can be seen as negative for me anyway, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So I think that it's really just figuring out how to best, you know, like I do feel like we are, we have these bodies or these vehicles or machines or however, these incredible systems that we have use of for a period of time. Mm-hmm. And they do have a natural, I think that everything that, you know, there's so much science is finding out that our ideas of what their capacity are, just like Wim Hof and the breathing, we don't even know. We haven't even touched the iceberg of capacity. Right.
It's just the tip of
what the human body can do. So I think that, that when you change it's, you know, I mean, I've been listening to David Bohm, who's an amazing physicist who was very into Krishnamurti.
I have the DVD still from their conversation.
Yeah, there's a new movie, David Bohm movie. You have to check it out.
Cool.
It's so good. It just came out recently. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
I think it's called Infinite Potential or whatever. But he says when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yes.
I thought Wayne Dyer said that, but he said that, but it came from David Bohm. And so that's why I think that instead of thinking of it in a way of like willpower or what did you say? Discipline. I think for me, those words have a lot of negative connotations from
our conditioning that we associate with
practicing and all this negative stuff about, for me, that it was about, you know, about this, you know, competition and striving and all those things. To me, I just want to change the way that I look at them. If I change that, then all of a sudden it becomes so much easier to do the things that I want to do.
And,
you know?
and at the end, we all know, you know, when we do it, the outcome is good. But sometimes we have that little devil in our head saying, oh, I don't want to get up. I don't want to go for a run or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing where that's how I have now redefined the discipline for me. It's like, just do it.
Yeah.
You know? And actually, who was my biggest teacher, and that was my dog, because they need to go.
I love that.
And so, you know, that's my thing. That's my routine in the morning, and I love it. And even if I don't want to go, then I go out and I become present, and then I'm like, this is good, you know.
That's great. See, mine's flipped. We go out later in the day, and by like 4 or 5, she's like, she has a yard she can run around in the day. Yeah. But then she's like, it's time. Come on, let's get going.
Yeah.
It's been great. She's been so inspiring. We go on our adventures around the neighborhood, go down to the beach. We have been going, even on the 4th of July weekend, we went down to like the edges and there's nobody around. It was so nice. It was like, oh my God, so nice.
But for you, I mean, as an artist and as somebody who works self-employed, you kind of have, before the whole lockdown and that crisis, you used to, me too, I'm also like in the same boat in a different way, but we used to be having uncertainty in our lives. We're used to dealing with, you know, not having a routine. So don't you feel like it's important to have some sort of a routine, like that certain beverage you make or that good mushroom coffee, or, you know, like...
Yeah, I don't, you know, this is my thing on that. I think that it's whatever works for you, you know, whatever is assisting you to feel the way you want to feel. You know, I mean, I think routines are great. And I think it's probably something very human and very something that humans really need in a sense.
But we hardwired to. We like also our, you know, we were freaks of, like creatures of habit.
Of repetition, right? We like
So
habit.
for some personality that has too much habit, they need to be more spontaneous. But for people like us who like little butterflies, like jumping from here to there, is kind of, we need a little anchor to ground us. So I think routine in a good way can be that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that once again, it's the way we look at it, you know? I mean, for me, I don't really look at it as routine as much as this is what I do because I love it.
Yeah.
I wake up and I do this. And so I put that in my schedule, you know?
Yeah. I try to do that too, because but I can be, even if I love something, I don't know if you have come to that point as an artist, you want to do something so bad, but that it scares you, that you're procrastinating. But once you've crossed that bridge and you think like, what the hell was I holding back for?
Yeah.
So for me, it's also something, like you say, perspective, but also to find out, to remove the things that hold you back and identify them. And because if we don't know what the issue is, we can't fix it, you know, so we have to recognize that first.
Shining lights, lots of light being shown right now on things in the world. And I think the inner experience is very important to have be able to, you know, that's what meditation did for me back in my 20s. I remember I never even knew what meditation was until I took yoga class, and at the end of yoga it would be vinyasa, right? Is that what it's called? Or meditation?
Shavasana?
No, Shavasana.
Yeah.
So at the end of yoga you do Shavasana, and I distinctly remember being on tour and going to this yoga class in New York City, and when they said Shavasana, and it was, you know, be quiet and you lie there, and I remember I couldn't handle it. It was like crying, and I had to run out of class. And it was like, oh, you got some stuff you got to look at, you know? So that was where that's where you start the process. And meditation, I think, is so incredibly important to be able to quiet, to be able to see what's going on, you know, to quiet the whole.
Become the witness, kind of. Out of your own like little monkey mind.
Yeah, totally.
But you've always, since I've known you, been one to do, like, I mean, it sounds like, I don't like the expression, but work on personal growth, or you know, kind of also be interested in different spiritual kind of philosophies, you know. So that's what I like. Every time when I see you, I feel like we're not missing a beat, because we're both like continuing on a path, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way of the artist.
Yeah.
You know, any art, any kind of, you know, whatever you're doing, if you're even just, you know, being a independent contractor or whatever, I mean, when you have that uncertainty in your existence, then you have to really be solid in who you are and what you're, you know, I suppose that is constantly changing, and you constantly have to keep up with it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then others choose another way. That's why I think maybe that's the reason why there's a lot of addiction or drug use in these fields. Mm-hmm. Some people don't know how to anchor and center, and then that's the escape, to numb yourself, you know. Yeah. And maybe then there comes sobriety, and then comes the spiritual life. Detour. But so I'm always grateful for these tools we have in our boxes, you know.
I mean, and that's why, you know, it's just absolutely ridiculous that there's a war on drugs, because I don't think anybody should go to jail for trying to figure out what's going on, and to be for things that are you know, the human desire to be free from whatever it is that, you know, you feel like you're imprisoned by. Right. And I think that for me, I did a lot of drugs when I was very young. And I think, by the time I was 21, I was kind of over it. Thank God, Almighty Lord. But I think that it was even though I probably shouldn't have done them so young for my brain, but I don't feel like I really suffered that much from it. And I feel like it was and a lot of incredible lessons in there. And, I did learn a lot. I mean, my drug use is mostly psychedelic. Thankfully, there wasn't heroin around in my day when I grew up in this certain specific area. So, so it was very mind expanding, rebellion, I suppose.
And that whole mind expanding, I'm just still reading Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, because he's exploring how that resurgence of psychedelics is coming back now in a controlled and setting environment with a facilitator, with like a guide. And I said, wow, they abandoned it, but it's all politics and there's all these other things involved. Just like you just said, with everything that happened back then, even like the counterculture and stuff, like it was just suppressed so you can control people better, because when people awaken and they think for themselves and they're more creative, that kind lets the status quo kind of cripple a little bit.
Right. And unfortunately,
in my mind.
Right. Historically, substances have been used to control populations as well. I mean, just the fact that we are drawn to want to alleviate our suffering by taking a substance. Unfortunately, what substance is available is going to really determine your experience. So if there's some quality psychedelics available, you're going to be a lot more in tune than if there's, crack or whatever really destructive that's available. And, like with the Native Americans, they flooded, Native American culture with alcohol.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about when I just lost my train of thought. When you said the war on drugs.
Yeah.
It's like, have you watched the documentary 13th about the 13th?
Not yet.
My God, you have to, because you understand the entire timeline of African Americans and how politics and first of all, like the 13th Amendment after the freedom of the slaves, but then how, let's imprison them. Let's make them criminals, imprison them so they can do prison labor. Then the prisons get privatized. Then let's throw drugs in their communities. It's insane. That's all.
And then let's put them in jail for using them. Yeah, I know.
But I love that all of this is now being revealed and people are waking up and are, and we have, this country has to acknowledge this history, and not like paint this fake picture. And
totally.
It's been really like mind-boggling.
I know, intense times. I mean, there's so much, I feel like our educational system has failed us in so many ways. And I mean, it is past time for change. I mean, it's been super slow, and now hopefully, ripping the Band-Aid off, and we have some major stuff. Plus, we have this total nincompoop who's in office now, who is just the dark side of humanity. He is a example of everything we don't want to be, unfortunately.
And even the fact that it's a reality now, it's like literally we've become a reality show, in a horror reality show. Let's put it this way.
I know, it's unbelievable.
It's like a destruction of this country and the rise of like fascism and all of that together. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, is it still there? Wasn't it just a dream? Because it's so unbelievable.
I know.
I do hope though that these times also to be, to go inward more, a lot of people had to face their real problems because there were no distractions. Because that's also something that the government does, like distract them, so you don't think for yourself, don't do self-inquiry. Now we had the time to go within, and I'm sure even in small units like families, a lot of things have been shaken up and revealed through the
Yeah.
situation. But it's a good thing because it's the truth, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
you just want to, some people just want to kind of not face it because it's too painful. And then they just live like not a fulfilled life.
Right.
And
Right. It's another example of who's controlling the narrative. And I think that it's, and that's what we do with our own lives as well. Everything's a microcosm of our own experience. So if we look at our own lives where where our narratives and our stories are not serving us,
yeah.
then I think that we will have a lot of real change come to the bigger picture.
And I think that's only how the world can change, is by one person at a time. Because if we don't transform, or if we're not willing, to also listen to the other opinion and have a dialogue, and a conversation instead of kind of being so polarized.
Totally. I know. It's unbelievable how it can keep continuing onward. And, but I think that it is shifting. I feel like there is like the light workers and people who do delve into this, the deepness of the soul and really look for meaning and purpose in our existence, and see that it's not about a fancy car, and it's not about, there's so much that it's not about. You really have to find your own inner thing as to what it is about. That I think that, people are going to start, with how we spend our money, and how there's so many shifts happening that I think are so powerful, and are more powerful than people with their hate, because hate comes from fear, and it's just something that's being controlled by we have been a very unkind culture, even though we have these big ideals of what America is. It was never that way. We've always been very unkind to people, and out of this lack of empathy grows lack of empathy. So once you start being, compassionate to people, and showing compassion to all people and everybody, because nobody should have, I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of the like super billionaire idea. I just don't think it's necessary. I think that, not one person doesn't, the resources that are used to have somebody make that much money should have been more evenly distributed, because everybody works, everybody, is a part of the machine. We're all connected.
Well, but you see who defines the value of something. If some reality TV star can make billions, or a cosmetic spokesperson, and the frontline worker or doctor who saves lives, or an educator teaching children, what's like, what you can see where that country's values are, or whoever is in charge.
Right.
I agree too. Plus, there's enough money in the world. We don't need to have hunger and disease if it would be all like a little better distributed.
Absolutely. We live in an abundance. I mean, we are, this earth is so abundant. And so, if we can live with the earth, thinking that we are from the earth is a part of us. Therefore, it's Native American. It's a lot of older cultures, pre-Western civilization that lived in symbiotic relationship with the earth. And, somewhere along the line, I'm not sure what happened, but we went off on a jag, and we're having to go back and hopefully repair the damage that's been done.
Or let's say it's also evolutionary. It's normal that we had the agriculture, we were cavemen, then we had the agricultural revolution, then we had industrial, and now we have the digital. And but I think, the more we advance in a way, it can be used, and is probably intended or for the good of the greater good of all. But unfortunately, and that's my belief, I think it's some people don't have that intention, and that's why collectively and ancestrally, like especially in this country now, it's like, no, we didn't discover America, we actually robbed the land
Right.
of people. Nobody says that in a history book.
Genocide. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I suppose when I say go back, I don't mean go back in time. I mean, go back to the relationship, the symbiotic relationship, and use the technology to, I mean, it's definitely,
That's what I mean. Exactly.
mechanization is the future. So turning towards mechanization and so therefore people don't have to do a lot of jobs that are manual labor, and and so we can re-educate and you can do other things.
Yeah.
And I'm also a fan of the fact that not everybody is going to have to work in this new day. I mean, philosophers, childcare. I mean, there's all these things that I'm not saying that that's not work, but they don't have to do. There's time to take. You can take time to develop your own beingness rather than
nourish yourself with your interests without having to think how am I going to pay my bills.
Exactly.
I'm a big fan of like a universal salaries, like I think it should be like a base kind of for everybody to cover your basic human needs,
Yes, absolutely.
And productivity, education.
Because the resources, just because you happen to have land and all of a sudden you discover oil, that oil doesn't belong to you. I'm sorry. It belongs to everybody, because the land doesn't belong to anybody either. We just have these, these ideas about ownership, but ownership it's not real. It's all, everybody is a part of everything, and it's all,
If more people would kind of go even just an ounce towards that thinking, I would be a happy camper today,
I think it's happening, little by little. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would disagree with me too, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We agree to disagree.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's also been very interesting in these last kind of wild times with friends or acquaintances, how they have different opinions. And I think it's very, very important that we still talk to each other.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That, and not just blend it out and polarize more. Yeah. So I see in the back here, you're all set up. Have you been like recording?
I have been making my meditation music, Rami Jaffe with Rami.
Right, like the one that I had the pleasure to go to that sound bath to?
Yeah, we have a couple records that we've done. We're just trying to figure out what to do, how to put them out. One of them, we're doing this awesome ex-football player, Eric Johnson, is doing he's been getting together some of his really great healer friends and ex sports players to do a platform, and one of the things he's doing is these meditations, and we're playing the music underneath, and we are going to do some sort of
a guided meditation that he's guided.
Guided meditation that these healers they basically and then they send it to me and Rami, and then we do music under it.
How did you make that connection with the sports guy?
Eric is married to Jessica Simpson, and I'm friends with them.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. I love it.
And I played on a couple of her stuff too. She's, got some amazing new stuff. I don't know what she's doing with her music, but she's got some new awesome tracks. So that's fun.
Was she a musician or an actor? No, musician.
Jessica, she's both. She's both. Yeah. And I've been doing some other session work. People send me songs to play on, and I play on them, and I love doing that. I love doing sessions.
And that's all possible in your own
from my house.
studio.
I know, it's so great to just be here and be able to create. I mean, I feel so incredibly blessed for that, and I wish everybody the opportunity to be able to create at home now, because obviously it's challenging, to get out there and do stuff. I've been really off social media. I've taken a break, and I haven't really been explored the live music,
online. Yeah.
But I am working on doing some recordings of taping myself while I create, and then I'll probably put them up on YouTube.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I went last night on Ringo Starr's 80th birthday bash. That was
nice. That was last night?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I think it's on YouTube or something. Yeah.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Gringos, that's
Yeah, but
awesome.
like, so even before the lockdown, would you do have gigs like that where they send you a song and then you just put your part on it?
Yeah.
Um, but then also there's the session work where you go into the studio. What's like,
Uh-huh.
how do you feel it? Like, it's probably a different experience with the vibe, having the people in the room and.
It is a different experience. When I was, before I had the capacity to record for many years, I would go in the days of studios being the thing, it's kind of shifted.
Yeah.
And big studios were just great. I mean, to be able to go to a big, a beautiful studio and have all the fancy equipment, and I've recorded many records with bands in very fancy, awesome studios, and I love that. That's a wonderful experience that is very driven. It's interesting because it's a collective experience, even though it's just maybe it's just you doing your part, but it's very collective because there's people around and you've made this music together, and you're working on it together, and the engineer and the producer all have their role, and it's so much different when I'm by myself. I mean, I really had to learn.
Too, isn't it like when I had Daryl Jones on my show here, he was talking about in jazz, like for example, how it's a conversation. So
Yeah.
it's like also when you play together, when you record, it's like, and then maybe even everybody brings in their idea, and then somebody's like the director and says, how about this and that? And
yeah. I think it's just like our lives now. The nature, it's still a conversation. It's just the nature of how the conversation happens is different.
Right.
And I think
Us
what's really
sitting in a room right now, for example.
Right. And I think the thing to remember for me when I'm playing is, when I'm doing it here, is to remember that it's a conversation and it's not just me playing in my room.
Good point.
And to really put myself in the mindset, and I've been doing this a lot lately with this whole, channeling, just trying to bring in, to be an open vessel with which I can be open to capture the vibrations that are around me and share that, rather than think that I'm the driver, because I don't think I am the driver. I'm just the passenger in this vehicle.
Or everybody's like, traveling as equals.
Right. Totally. Well, that's what it is. It's a yin and a yang, like some days I'm the driver and sometimes I'm the passenger. So it just, in some, it is. And that's what I think is so interesting with this time that it is, a lot of people don't have the opportunity, even for this time, for these last few months, they've had to work.
Yeah.
And so it's
homeschool and
right, and can teach their kids, right. And for us, like people like me and you who don't have children and who can afford to work out of our home, continue to work out of our home, it's a privilege. I mean, it is a blessing. I never wanted to have children, and I think it's a wonderful thing to do, but I'm so grateful that I don't have to deal with teaching, I have a hard enough time with dealing, my own. I feel like this is such an incredible time to deal with myself and to figure out the best way to be in this world. And I think it's such, I'm just grateful for it. I think that it's an incredible opportunity. But it's also one that I do not take lightly, that I feel like it is a blessing, and I am so lucky. And I want to figure out how to make it more equal and make it more, give more people the opportunity to not have to, work these jobs that are so underpaid and underappreciated.
But then you just now started doing this meditation music, which is also using your gifts to kind of contribute, to the greater good, which is.
Yeah, I've actually been working on the healing sound for like 20 years. I went to UCLA. Yeah. Back when I went to UCLA, I took all these courses in, first acoustics, a study of sound, basically. So the study of sound is unbelievable. I mean, it's like, they're loud out there. the study of sound is just, it's a field that's been there, but it's shifting because there's so much more they're finding out.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm super into quantum physics.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the theories is that the universe actually began with sound.
Yeah. The big
So,
bang, so to speak.
right, exactly. With what they would call frequency waves,
Mm-hmm.
which is sound. And so that, there is this magical sound that I mean, even with that weird noise out there, to me, that happened earlier when I was sleeping, and I was like, okay, I can kind of change it from being irritating to being soothing, because of this whole concept of shifting what we think sound is. And how, I mean, I definitely am not a fan of noise pollution. I think there's way too much, like the airplanes, and they should figure that out, because I don't love it. And the fireworks, all that stuff, I'm not a fan of noise pollution.
Yeah.
But I think whatever exists in your experience, you have to deal with it. So why not shift it into something that's as positive as you can make it within your, within your the power of now, as Eckhart Tolle would say.
But this goes back to, again, what you said earlier about the perspective, because I know that I'm very sensitive to sounds when I'm in a public space, like in a plane, when somebody talks really loud, the row behind me, and I get so annoyed, because I'm like, first of all, of course it's judgment, and I have to look at myself too, but then I go like, dude, we're in a space that we share, be respectful or something. But then when I let it go, when I'm able to just say that I have no control over that, or I could say something, whatever, then all of a sudden they shut up. And it's almost like, it's funny how that works,
It is funny. I know, it's so funny how it really does feel like there is, there is like a symbiotic relationship when you start to tune in, and you start to feel things that are, underneath. You start to see more that's underneath. It's the same kind of thing. Yeah.
How do people become more attuned to it? Like, for me, it's, for example, we all know as a big, like global population, for example, music unites,
Yeah.
when you play a show with Pink or whatever in front of 40,000 people or even more, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like, and then it must hit a nerve of all these people, that was created, or that is created there on stage. That is just amazing. So I would just like, I mean, you and I, we study those things. We have like you have to come to a certain awareness to even, know about that. But then, how do you bring that to a broader public? Like, is that something that they're interested in doing with your healing music too? Like,
yeah, I think
also be educational about it?
It's amazing how people are, I'm noticing people, it's really something people are tuning into. It's this concept of, I mean, first of all, pop music and popular music. I mean, we all know that music makes you feel good, especially when you're young. You start to feel like, it's freedom. It represents all of these different things, whatever, your experience may be. But there's definitely like, there's always going to be like a driving, or I don't know about always, but historically there's a driving new rebellious music that young people tune into. And it's so incredibly impactful on your time that as you get older, when you hear that music, that's the whole study with Alzheimer's, is that playing music from people's past can really trigger the mind to come to, in a sense, to like
memory, or
yeah. And it really helps Alzheimer's patients to listen to music that was impactful to them when they were young, because those, this whole, the brain and how it develops and how to keep it firing. That's our want. We want to keep our brain firing as we age. Music is incredible in that. And I think people are starting to, not only do we know it intrinsically, like we feel like I really want to hear, you know, this music, putting this music on is going to make me feel good, and or I'm feeling anxious, so I'm going to put this mellow music on to make me feel more relaxed. I think that there is like a general trend towards that's happening right now, and I do think like ambient music that it's all, you know, like you were talking before about intention. The intention to share an emotion. Of course, that's in all styles of music. When, you know, good songs, you feel the emotion of the person singing the song, even if it's on a little speaker. You know, you still feel that emotion. You don't have to be in the room, even though being in the room makes it much more powerful. But so I think that there is a general shift towards wanting to feel more calm and more at peace. And so, you know, that's really what I feel this music that I'm working on is, I'd like to share, is my ability, you know, the ability that I've been working on and learning about being peaceful and being calm and coming from a deep center.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that doesn't have the answers, but that's open to being a channel for that.
And also connected.
Yeah.
Right? Like you
Yeah.
said, in pop music, you know, you can have these people all connecting on that one song or emotion, whatever hits that nerve.
Yeah.
And when you go into the more subtle, you know, and you are so wise about all these frequencies and vibrations, and you can create with them, because everything vibrates and has a frequency in that wall behind me. I mean,
Yeah.
so you can also find a connection and connect people back to their natural state, because we're part of nature.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as far as how to spread it more, that's never been something I've been super great at, getting my stuff out there. So I could totally use help with that. I'm not sure. I mean,
Okay.
I think that, you know, ironically, I find out a lot of information on YouTube, and there is a lot of interest in, you know, meditation music, yoga music, study music, because there's been so much advancement on what frequencies hit certain parts of the brain. So, and I've been studying that too. So it definitely is something that works, and people are going back for more. So as far as what to do with that, and I mean, you know, for me, it's more just like, at this point, I'm just, you know, basically giving the music away because I don't know what else to do with it. And that's fine. I want to share it. But it's, you know, it would be great to be able to do sound baths when this whole thing calms down a little. I do love playing live in front of people, and I think that it's a wonderful, you know, experience to share that. And that's a real conversation.
And also, you should be compensated, because a lot of people always think like, oh, when you are in a healing field or in a spiritual field, oh, they're making money off of it. And I'm like, yeah, just like as you make food and exchange it for money or anything.
Energy exchange. Yeah,
So
totally.
yeah, that there's also a misconception about that a little bit. So
No, I agree.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to what you said, like with the Alzheimer patients, what you said, that there would be something that triggers some like neurotransmitters probably in their mind.
Yeah.
Is like neuroscience already in the known what that is?
They're doing, I mean, that is definitely something that they are working with, you know, I mean, and it's something that there are other things, you know, like certain frequencies they're studying. I mean, it's the Wild West with this stuff,
I
because
mean, the brain, there's so much we don't know about the brain.
so much we don't know. Exactly.
I mean, but I meant for the other, you know, this in the sense of smell, for example, that goes to the olfactory system, which is like overrides all, you know, reasoning, and goes also right into the reptilian brain, where we, you know, if somebody wears the same perfume that your grandmother had, you immediately go back to that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there they have like totally the knowledge of it, what it is, but in so many things they don't.
I know it is. It's really incredible. I mean, I think that, the success rate is, there's still, it's still in its, they're still trying it out. They're still working with it, but there has been a lot of positive stories. And Alzheimer's is another one of those things where we're just, we don't really, there's a lot we don't know, but anything, any kind of improvement, it's certainly worth it, worth it to try.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there's been a lot of, there's a lot of information about certain frequencies and binaural beats, and the ability to, it's entrainment. It's it's bringing the mind into a state that you want it to be in, whether it's through listening to sound that has a frequency that's similar to your brainwave, which is binaural beats. It wants to entrain your brain to be in a certain state, a state of calm. And so, or listening to something that brings you back, that brings your body, also entrains your brain and brings your brain into a state of a time that you can, oh, that's, that was me then. And it brings you to that, and all of a sudden you're not, 85 years old and totally incapable of remembering, and you're back to your 20s. And so it's incredible. It just shows you that there's, right now we're at the bottom of the mountain of I think, of finding out the incredible capacity to heal and to, to facilitate these incredible avenues of growth with the human mind.
With sound, for example.
And sound, yes. Yeah.
Was that part of like your program when you studied that at UCLA? Was that?
It was part of a couple classes. It wasn't part of my program with Ethnomusicology, which is basically a study of music as a cultural anthropology. Right. Culture anthropology look at cultures. But I think throughout history, music was used in the past in so many different ways. I mean, the concept of now we have artists and audience, people who play and people who listen, that was never real pre-Western, history. It was
always a collective.
Everybody played. Everybody was
around the fire, dancing, drumming, right. Playing. Right. Yeah.
So everybody was a part of the the expression of music. And so in that there was healing, there was transcendence, there was all sorts of community. Community, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to look at that stuff. And in that study, I started to get interested in, well, what role did this really play more, like how can we apply some of that stuff to what's happening now and to our lives now? And especially the study of acoustics. And I mean, it's so complicated. It was a hard class because sound, the math behind sound is really hard. It's not easy.
I have to self-study a little bit because I work for that little love tuner.
I love that.
And then I learned about all the Gregorian, chants and about the solfeggio scale and how the standard music scale has been changed in history.
And also those scales, the ancient scales, are also different. There's not one scale that they say these are specifically, there's different versions of those scales. So basically, and over time, our concept of, this is the little love tuner that you gave me that I love is 528, which is not a part of our normal scale. So you would have
to tune to 444 to get that.
444, right, exactly.
Right?
You tune your A to 444.
Yeah, so I did research, why did they, back in the Gregorian chants, they were tuning to 448, so they had that frequency. But
some
then
of them,
changed it.
Not all of them. But really? I mean, it's weird throughout. Yes, it's shifted. I mean, if you look, you can see there's been different, and it kind of makes sense, because if they didn't have if we're attaching a concept of a note to a frequency. Mm-hmm. So the frequencies, so over time, it's like if there's no person with your tuner all over the world, then there's no way of knowing exactly what that note is. The note is, you know, you can sing the note, but you might, and that's why I don't believe really in perfect pitch. Perfect pitch is relative.
Right.
So it's, you know, you have to know what you're supposed to be perfect in, because pitch is relative. It's not absolute. There's no, you know, it's just like what we call blue. This to us is blue, but it's only blue because we put the word blue on it. In the spectrum of colors, it's a lot more than that. You know, it's a huge spectrum, right? Just like it's a frequency. It's a frequency. This is also a frequency, a light frequency.
Right.
And there's brain frequencies and there's all these frequencies, and we attach, and that's why, you know, it's just like in the quantum world, so much of this stuff is theory.
Yeah.
It's like, I think, and this is happening. And because the quantum world is so tiny, we're just starting to find out more and more and more, but there's still so many things that are unknown. And it's the same with sound, because so much of it is what you feel, and feeling is subjective.
Yeah, it's your experience. But also the what am I gonna say now? I forgot. Damn it. You said the frequency, da da da. Forget it. I'm totally just lost my train of thought.
That's okay. It happens to me all the time.
I felt a little run down today, this morning, and I'm like, oh, should I do this? And then I said, you know, when you get a scratchy throat and stuff, and you go like,
yes, these days it's like anything
that also
happens.
fucks my brain a little bit.
Yeah. These days, if anything is weird, it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
About the coronavirus, because there's so many different symptoms.
Yeah.
It's
and now all the new findings, I don't even read it anymore because it scares me. Now they say like that some people that has affected their brains and their strokes and things and other people. Yeah.
I know. Well, if you feel sick, take aspirin. That's one of the things I think.
Yeah. Well, I have a whole regime, but it's all good.
Yeah.
No, but what was I gonna say? Damn it. Anyways, I'll let it go because maybe then it will come back.
Yeah.
But it was a frequency. It was a frequency thing for sure.
That usually happens.
Oh no, I know what it was. It was like what you said about mathematics, you know, like then when I did that research on these older frequencies, then I came across Pythagoras and you know how everything in music, so interesting. I could really dive deeper into studying.
Yeah, it is so interesting.
Subtle energies and then also logic and mathematics. And because again, we have a different perception. We all hated math in school. I mean, I speak for myself, but for
some people didn't, but we did, yes.
But then if you look at, but then also we have this perception, this negative, you know, intonation with math, so association with it. And then you look at a mathematician like Albert Einstein, who's also one of the greatest philosophers and, you know, like who understood, like.
And he played the violin.
Through that knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. He did play the violin.
He played the violin. Yeah. Albert Einstein. Yeah, I know. I'm just really into all that stuff right now because he was, you know, the one I think find it so interesting that he was this incredibly, obviously, mind-blowingly, you know, advancedly smart man. But he was always looking for the theory of everything.
Yeah, and he was human. He was like, you know, he was the first one who came here and said, this is unbelievable. Like he went to this college I just read, like that was an all African American college, and they said, no, you don't go there, and it's too small. And he said, hell yeah, I'm going, you know, and he was always against all the status quo and norm. And
well, unfortunately, when you see that movie on David Bohm, you'll see all the scientists of the time were all white men, no women, no color, you know, all white men. And I know it is really, I mean, that just goes to, and David Bohm came along with this incredible, he was also incredibly intelligent, and Einstein really liked David Bohm and wanted to work with him, but he got blacklisted because he went to a communist meeting. One communist meeting. So he got kicked out of the country, and then he had this incredible idea when he was very young about a theory of everything that included spirituality and included a totally different way of looking at science. And of course, that's a tough one for people to take. They didn't, they kind of wrote them off because it's that whole thing of like, who's telling the narrative? Who holds the narrative? We want to keep it in our box.
Yeah, it's too
We
much
want people
outside
to
of the
think
box. I was just going to
box,
say that. Yeah.
you know.
But it's the same when like Tim Leary and Richard Alpert were doing the psilocybin studies at Harvard, and then they both got kicked out. One went, really recreational in the psychedelic experience. And Richard Alpert became Ram Dass and went to India and looked for consciousness there, also
Wow.
different way.
That's right.
There it is.
Uh-oh.
I'm talking too much. You do that.
How is it hot there?
It's okay. My house is nice and cool, actually.
That's great.
But I need to come down to the beach. I need to see the water and go.
I know. It's been so nice here. It's been kind of not it's been nice, warm in the day, and then a little bit chilly at night.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
So when you play and come up with these new meditation musics, do you have certain frequencies in mind, or is that
it's a combination of things? Yes, there are. I've been working with different frequency scales, so I've been trying out 432, and which is a beautiful tone. It's a little bit flat from a traditional what we listen to. It's just a tiny little bit flat. And then I really like the 444. I really like tuning my violin to A444, which is all this, of course you have to tune all the strings a little bit sharp.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a really great tuning for me. But then when I work with Rami, we've been doing A440, and I love that too. I personally don't believe that any of them is bad. I feel that there's a theory that the A440 was created to create tension, which is funny because it kind of does apply to our time. Since World War II is supposedly when it was changed. It was changed in World War II.
The Rockefeller Foundation apparently changed it in the beginning of the 20th century. That's what
Interesting.
I don't know.
I know. It's all over the place because I heard there's a rumor that it was changed in Germany.
Yeah.
But who knows? All I know is that I don't think that there's bad sound, personally. I don't think there's evil, dark frequencies. I think that, and of course Paganini got in so much trouble because he played these scales that were thought of as the devil's scale.
The devil's violin, yeah.
Yeah, but he played from his heart. He played from probably his experience. I feel like, like there is music that makes you feel very sad or very deep. And that is wonderful and beautiful because it's emoting, it's creating a feeling. Of course you can choose, like heavy metal music, a dark, death metal, whatever. I personally choose not to listen to that music. It doesn't make me, it doesn't do anything for me because I'm right now in my life, it's been different, but right now I don't have those receptors.
Yeah.
I don't have the receptors of feeling that dark and that angry and mad. And, but I understand it. I do. I feel like it's totally valid for people who are in that place. And I think that when it comes to creating music, it is like when me and Rami first started this endeavor together, to have some structure, we started with the concept of the chakras and going up the chakras. And even though there's a lot of different opinions of what notes equate to one chakra, we went with the C is the root tone, and then went up the scale from there. And that works, and we love that. And there's a lot of other things, like the heart chakra, even just the F tone. It doesn't even have to be five. I don't think it has to be 528 to be the heart chakra. It's just the F tone. So you go, but there's and then there's people who think the heart chakra is the A tone. Yeah. So just exposing myself to all that, and then kind of thinking about it, but not overthinking. You don't want to come at it from. I think it's really great to get all this to study, to learn, to listen, and then to really clear the mind when it comes to creating. And that's kind of what I've been doing lately, is just really coming from a place of
Intuition.
Intuition. And I think for me, I'm discovering so much of playing. And I think for sure when I've been put in these situations where I feel like I've been thrown out on a stage with hardly any preparation and not enough experience in my life. And I've had to just do it. Yeah. And I feel like in those times, I have been so incredibly blessed with something that's not me, like something that's beyond me. I think what the strength on my side was to be open, was to be an open channel and not to feel like I had to conform to a certain idea of what a violinist would do in that situation, or what what years of practice would do or whatever, and just to be open in the moment and to feel what's coming from the audience, what's coming from the other people on stage, and to give it back.
Totally.
And that's what I've been trying to create here.
Yeah, and every kind of musician, if you read people, I love reading people's memoirs and biographies and stuff. It's like that moment when you totally lost in it, when you kind of dissolve, right. And it's just music and that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's much more important than if it's like, is it 528 or 4, it's like that thing. Totally. And I think that's where the connection happens also with all people, because it feels like source, it feels authentic, and it's right. Magic happens for me in my mind.
No, I agree with you totally. It is. It's about, and that's what's so funny about the study of it, because the math is so challenging, and because there is so much that has come before that's come to these conclusions, and then there's so many other ideas that come to these other conclusions, and neither are right or wrong. It's just so interesting. It's so interesting to witness, and then to take that knowledge and internalize it, but free yourself from it at the same time. To not be bound by the ideology.
Yeah. So when you make this healing music or the sound bath music, is it you on violin and Rami on like synth or key?
That's how we start. That's how we start. But then a lot of times I've been doing some synth stuff, and I do all sorts of different sounds, and I've been doing a lot of vocals, which I love doing with this music. But I use a lot of effects. Effects on stuff. And Rami plays different kinds of keyboards. I'm trying to get him to do some vocals.
Good luck.
I know, he's like, maybe. But so it's a combined effort, and we start with we usually start with just him on a bunch of keyboards and me on the violin with a bunch of pedals, and then depending on what we're doing, it all depends. I mean, everything is different. Like with the meditators, it's been a little more building, whereas with our first record was really just a improv jam, and all improv. But when I'm listening to the meditators, I do want to feed off of what they're saying and respond, and it's kind of, that's really like listening and adding what I think would enhance what they're saying. So that's a little bit more thought out.
Have you ever played cello on it too?
Yeah, I do the cello. Yeah, the cello's great because it's low C, open C. So it's just an open G. It's just beautiful. I love the cello.
Yeah.
Cello is beautiful.
Me too. Yesterday, Sheryl Crow played, like they all played like in from their homes somehow. And what did she play? She played a Beatles song, All You Need Is Love, maybe, or any like iconic Beatles song. And there was a split screen, and you could see her play all the instruments. So she recorded.
She plays cello?
She played cello. It was amazing.
Sheryl Crow?
Yeah.
Wow.
Played everything: drums, cello, guitar, piano.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I know. You have to check it out on Ringo's.
I will. Yeah, that's so cool.
So how does that come in with like your previous like life in rock or pop music? Are you still interested in that?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, I love touring. It's totally different. You know, the experience
Yeah.
of being on tour with Pink, which I just, you know, we did that 2-year amazing tour.
Hmm.
Last year, I was in Europe at this time playing stadiums. It's amazing how much can change in 12 months.
And I was living vicariously through you when I followed you on Instagram, and I could feel, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was such a beautiful camaraderie and vibe that
That's
I
what
could
it was.
feel
Yeah.
through the screen with you guys, the
Yeah.
band and
Yeah.
everybody. So it seems
Yeah,
like
that's totally,
also,
it's totally a different experience. It's so wonderful to be around such incredible people
yeah,
and to be on a mission together. And Alicia's music, Pink's music was so poignant to then and is so poignant now and is so you know, to be I mean I had tears almost every night on stage.
really,
Yeah. Almost every night. Yeah. Because it was so powerful. And to be a part of something so powerful that was having such an impact on so many people. And,
yeah.
you know, even now my hair's standing up.
Oh. It also takes like, you know, not only your skills as a musician, but also your personality that, you know, I guess you get a gig like that to where people know you fit into like this group, everybody's like supportive of each other, has a positive mindset and, you know, somewhat like a depth to,
Well, this goes back to the beginning full circle
yeah,
is I definitely, if I had any advice for anybody who wanted to be in a band or get a big tour, it would be to get yourself in a situation with yourself that you're totally cool with yourself,
yeah.
that you're not reactive to people,
Mhm.
that you're not, you know, that you show up and that you show up early, a little early, maybe at least on time. And when you show up, you bring your best self.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, and you don't react to other, because so often things get started or problems happen because people are feeling bad or not having, you know, having issues that are totally not about you. And you
Yeah.
feel it's about you or it comes out about you, so you react. And that starts a problem. But there's no need for that, because if you can be compassionate and if you're aware of your own self and you don't react, then that stops that right there, you know?
Yeah. You
So,
kind of cut off that energy or the fuel.
right, right. Yeah.
And you can
So,
respond, you know, instead of react. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it took me a lot of years. I mean, I was what, like 36 years old, working at a German bar in Minneapolis when I got my first. I mean, I had had other great breaks before. I played with great bands when I was in my 20s and 30s. But then I was in a definite lull and I was doing my own music and I had a great band, but I was really struggling with what I was doing. And I released a couple solo records and I was working at a German bar, which I actually loved that job, one of my best jobs ever. And I got the call to play with the Foo Fighters.
Uh-huh.
So never give up. I mean, it was, you know, and then it was a few years later. I guess I did the Foo Fighters 2007, 8, and then Pink in 9. So yeah, it was a good run. And then there was another
Did
break of
one lead to the other or?
kind of. I met Pink when I was touring with the Foos.
Oh,
So
really?
it did. Yep, yep, yep. It did lead
On a
to the.
festival or?
Yep, it was a V festival in Europe. I think it was in 2008, something like that.
So sometimes it's like all these different factors that come together, how, you know, our next step kind of unfolds in life, isn't it? Like it's to be
Yeah.
in the right place at the right time to have a person like, I think you and Rami got there together, right? It was like that.
Me and Rami, I met
Right.
Rami. Well, I had been playing with, I was very lucky. Did have some breaks prior to those, but they were different, in a different scale. When I was in college, I got out of UCLA and I immediately got a tour with Peter Himmelman, which was a great tour. He was a singer-songwriter, super wonderful guy. And then the Geraldine Fibbers. And when the Geraldine Fibbers was a cow punk band. We were on Virgin Records. We made a couple very fun records, and it was like the press loved it, but it didn't really translate at the time, I don't think, to the radio.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was a couple wonderful years of touring in a van around the United States, and that's when I met Rami. It was right in that time when I was playing with the
Wasn't his label
that was many years ago, huh?
This label, Trampoline Records, had Himmelman on it. No, wasn't it that one?
It's possible, because Himmelman was married to Jacob Dylan's sister, I think. Yeah. One of Bob's daughters was married to Peter Himmelman. So that's how I met Rami, is through that whole thing. Because then we opened for the Golden Smog, which is, Wilco and Jayhawks and all the Midwestern hip bands at the time.
And you played with them too, right?
Played with all those guys. And then I played on a bunch of Wilco records and played with Wilco, toured with those guys. And we also ran into Rami a lot. And then it was Rami who called me and said, "Would you want to tour with the Foo Fighters?" I was like, let me check my schedule at the German restaurant. Yeah.
That's awesome. How did that feel?
It was weird. I mean, I don't even know. It felt otherworldly, for sure.
Was it also terrifying a little bit?
I don't know if terrifying is the right word. It was more like, wow, like I thought it was an audition. So I practiced and I flew out there, and Dave was like, "Hey, so glad you came to join the band." And we started working on new music. I was like, it was a little bit of, it was overwhelming, for sure.
Okay. But they seemed like all super nice guys and very
They were super nice guys. It was a great fit with where they were at the time musically and where I was. It was like an instant gel. We all got along great and had a great time, and of course I was like in heaven. And so yeah, it was really awesome times.
It's a fun thing to tour and to travel the world and do what you love and make a living with it. That's pretty awesome.
It is. I realize again how incredibly blessed I am for that experience.
Yeah, because we all go through times, and I'm sure you have too, where you go like, oh, I think I'm never gonna get a job again, and then all of a sudden something amazing happens, and it's all about the perseverance and the keep on keeping on, isn't it?
That's true. Just don't give up and just keep doing, whatever you can do to keep your mind in a good state.
Yeah.
That's what I think,
Yeah, and also be willing, to be humble and to take other jobs when you.
Totally. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I mean, I've worked in the service industry to supplement my music career for a long time. Even with a college degree, it was like, what am I going to do with an ethnomusicology degree?
Teach.
It's not going to. I could do that. There's things I could do, but it would take me away from being able to do this. Then I wouldn't have gotten those tours, which would have been fine in a different path. But for me, the flexibility of being able to, do a couple waitressing or bartending shifts and still be able to do my music. Mm-hmm. Well, it was always appealing to me.
Yeah.
And I had the best experiences. I still have one of my best friends is from that job. And, some of my greatest friends came from my working in restaurants. And yeah, I love that experience. I love that opportunity. I think and that's the thing about life, is that we think we want this thing, like, oh, it would be so great to tour. And it is great to tour. But it's also great to do other things that you can have just as much of an incredible experience.
Absolutely. But that's the thing, when you kind of put the blinders on and you kind of missing out on these other opportunities.
Right. Well, when you
have a lot of misery with it,
Right. And if you don't, I think it's really important. And this is the thing too, about wherever you're at, get in the best place you can with that. Definitely. Because if you don't, then you're going to take that with you. It's just like, I want to, like moving somewhere, like shit's not going right, so I'm going to move. Well, you're going to take
everything
with you. So the best thing to do is try to get in a good place with whatever is happening, and enjoy the job, you know, that you have, and to your best ability. I mean, you know, before I got in 2017, I think it was, before I got this last Pink tour, I was in a bit of a, you know, like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I remember being in a little bit of a downward, you know, like, where do I go from here? And it literally, like, it was just such a, you know, it was a real affirmation that continuing on my path is, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
they come when they're, you know, when they're
Yeah.
supposed to.
Did you always, when you kind of grew up, knew you wanted to become a professional musician or a musician?
Yeah, no,
No?
not a clue. When I grew up, I was lucky. I didn't know if I honestly did not think I would live to see 21.
Really? But you played music from early on, right?
My parents started training me on violin when I was 4, which is part of my, yeah, it was not fun. It wasn't fun, the whole classical experience. My brother was older than me by 14 years and had already been like playing Carnegie Hall by the time I was 5. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was a super successful classical pianist, and that was what they wanted for me. And it was really rough, and I hated it. So by the time I was 11 or 12, I was rebelling, doing drugs, and then I started playing guitar in a rock band. You know, I mean, I was like anything but classical violin. And then I started playing again. I moved to California by myself when I was 19, and I missed the violin. I started playing again. And that's when I realized I had this incredible breakthrough that I could play the violin to music I liked, instead of, not that I love classical music, but it's not, you're playing something that's been done before many, many times. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, I wanted to create. Mm-hmm. So I suppose I could have composed classical music, but that wasn't where I was at. I wanted to be in my, you know, music that affected me, that I was listening to. And so that's when I discovered, I was like at Santa Monica College seeing people jamming on the lawn, you know, the right out on the lawn, and playing violin with, you know, and I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that was when I started on a different path.
And then you picked it up again. So, but it's always what we got forced in by our parents. I played piano when I was a kid, and I gave it up because it was so not inspiring to me to have to play these classical pieces, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah, instead
but
of
look
like,
at my brother, he loved it. So it really just, I mean, people ask me all the time, should I force my kid to play, to practice? Because practicing is so hard. And I always think, like, I think it's a wonderful thing to make it, to give someone the opportunity,
yes,
to follow their passion, and to offer these opportunities, the violin, the piano, art, sports, I mean, whatever, to be able to offer children these wonderful things that they could do. But in order to really do it, you really have to want to. Yes. And it's really hard to make a kid, this thing is so uncomfortable, and it's so, you know, I mean, the violin especially is not built for comfort, and I'm sure a lot of sports and ballet, I mean, you know, there's all these things that are so hard and not fun. But it's just where you're, you know, that's the thing, you have to kind of, as a parent, I wouldn't be able to tell somebody what to do with that, because you know, it's funny, my brother always says, he wishes they had made him practice more. Wow. So you know, there's no winning as a parent in that situation. You really have to just figure out what works best for you and your situation. Once again, it's a freaking, it's a, what is the word when you have the benefit? It's a benefit. It's an advantage to be able to do these things, to be able to offer your children the ability to do these things is a wonderful advantage. As far as how the child reacts to it, that's, right, what you have to, you give them
the opportunity. But then I think it also a lot of like personality of the child comes into play. Like seeing
Absolutely.
how you know, your brother seems like more like the ambitious type, or he needs to get the recognition, and for you it was more like having freedom and of creative expression, you
Yeah.
know, as
Yeah.
a the other end of the spectrum of kind of his ambition. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I always feel like any type of art or things that are really dying now in the educational sector and have all to be like, you know, paid out of pocket, or, you know, they're not even available in certain communities.
It's crazy.
So
It's so
yeah,
sad.
because people think it's not necessary. And it's just like, I mean, what would we be without art and music? I mean,
I know. I know. It's unbelievable. And even like, I mean, for all the time I've been on this planet, I'm still learning the basic things of like how to stand properly, how to hold my body, how to breathe. These are things I really wish that we had been taught as children. You
yeah,
know, I mean, honestly, standing is a challenging, sitting properly, using your body properly, using your functions of your lungs and your intestines. All these things are like things that are pretty important. And I'm still like, you know, unlearning the bad behaviors that I have acquired because I wasn't taught differently. Especially, you know, if you do anything like with you, it's your massage. I mean, you know, it's all you have to like be able to take care of yourself and do it properly. And it's the same with the violin or anything. And so that's, if I was to teach anything in my time, in my future, it would be not necessarily how to play violin, but how to continue, how to play, how to perform at your optimum state, how to be able to really work on your the wholeness of you.
yeah.
Because that's what's going out there. You know, you're the wholeness of you. It's not just the notes you play. It's not the perfection or, you know, or the colors that you paint. It's the wholeness beingness.
It's the flow. I think if like you are in this wholeness and fully aware and conscious, it's like, and in the moment, this is like where you're in the flow. I mean, it sounds
Right.
very cliche, but I totally believe in that, because
Yeah.
they know that it's like when athletes have their peak performances and so forth. I just read an interesting book about that too. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the question is, how do we get there, you know, into that flow? And that's what you mentioned, is working on yourself and kind of, yeah, like not
Yeah.
following the kind of matrix of what's come before, because we're so limited with that, and the limiting beliefs hold us back from everything.
Exactly. Totally. Yeah. It's just looking outside of what, you know, like questioning everything,
Yeah.
questioning what it is that you've been told, questioning what it is you feel, look at your thoughts, look
Yeah.
at them, don't always believe them because they might not be, you know, something worth dealing with, and being able to take us, like, be the observer.
Or also undo the conditioning of our upbringing and our ancestors, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of beliefs that kind of get really transferred in our DNA, which is so interesting too.
Yeah. Totally.
And
Yeah.
we can heal generations behind us and ahead of us with
Yeah. Because time is a construct.
that.
It's a whole nother conversation.
Oh yeah. So what do you think is going to go on with live music? I mean, for you guys, you have no clue when you can go back out and play in front of people, right? I mean, you could
Right.
play, but not in front of people. There could be a
Yeah.
performance.
I think it's going to be next year. You know,
Yeah.
I think things are going to start rolling again. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that it does look like they are going to get some sort of vaccine or some sort of antibody thing. I mean, they're spending so much time and money and effort. I can't imagine that it wouldn't somehow work out. Don't you think?
Well, I would wish that everything would be, again, like you said, with the world, what's wrong, if we would like be just more universally unified in finding a solution, instead of like everybody doing their little thing and different countries doing different things. And apparently what's happening here is total chaos compared to what I look at my home country of Germany, how they got it under control. And
Germany's doing good. I know.
so, you know, you see what leadership can also obstruct, like, or lack of leadership in that case, obstruct like the advancement. Because again, the intention is not to serve all people, you know, clearly.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that if anything that, you know, the illuminating time that we live in, shining light on things, is definitely that we are all connected. So if United States doesn't take care of it, it's going to affect Germany. Just like, you know, we're all going to affect each other. So we need a shift in our leadership. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody go vote. And we need a shift in our whole being of understanding. And I think that, I hope that, I mean, it would be wonderful if that was the result of this, you know?
I think it definitely is, because what we learned through that is, you know, because usually when catastrophes or things happen and they're really, really far away, like this virus, when it was still in China, it was, oh, look at that, it's terrible. And then all of a sudden it hits home. That's
I know.
Excuse me. But that's when it happens that we're all in this together, where I would wish, and also in the research and in the handling of it, we would be more unified. I think in no matter what, you know, under what kind of political climate your country is running under, just as a humanity, you know, because this is a thing that is public health and it's like global right now. So
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we just have to, I mean, I think even if we didn't have the vaccine, if we could all get together to wear masks, wash our hands, and socially distance for a couple months, it would go away. So, I mean, I think that, you know, we just have to get it together.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, the future of everything is very up in the air right now. And, you know, I mean, I think that it will, I definitely think that over time, you know, live music is going to come back. I'm not worried about that. But I think that it's really about getting okay with whatever is happening right now, and not
finding new ways according
new
to
ways
how you lead your life, you know, it's looking at it from a different angle, like how can we tackle this? And you know, people always say, how are we going to go back to normal? How are we going to change? And it's like, we're changing every day, whether we're in a pandemic or a lockdown or not. But if you don't see, if you're not present enough to notice that, you know, then of course you need to be smashed out of your kind of routine and hamster wheel.
Wake up call. Yeah.
So I think it was really like waking up a lot of people, hopefully.
Yeah.
Better.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we don't want to even talk about like the new independent running candidate.
I don't think he's got a chance.
It's like, I'm like, isn't this shit show enough what we're dealing with right now? It's like, what strategy is behind that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's a lot of more of what got us in the position that we got in now is ego. You know, too much ego.
But I find it interesting too that within that, you know, we're in this kind of lack of leadership and borderline fascist kind of practices here. And yet at the same time, through the whole Black Lives Matter and through all the, you know, systemic racism being like exposed, we also see, you know, look at history with a little, like through a better lens and see what's been like held back from us or like told us in a way to believe. So there's also a dismantling of that, and not everything was kind of rosy and okay in the past. And I think a lot of people did not have that knowledge, including myself, about a lot of things.
Yes,
I was in the United States, but I think that's also a huge...
Even if you grew up in the United States, I mean, we were never taught about Juneteenth.
Yeah. Or you were never taught about, you know, that the land was stolen and the people were just kind of
We were kind of taught about that, but it was, you know, I mean,
mildly.
it was there. That the Native American stuff, it was there. I remember learning about the Trail of Tears, and I remember being very upset about that stuff and thinking that things aren't right. And I mean, there was so many things, I think, you know, and then you just start to feel like, oh, well, there's really nothing that you can do, or things are changing and things are better now, and there's, you know,
Mhm.
nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's very interesting, the whole, I just think it's just a travesty of education that
It's
is.
just also like almost like revealing like a big lie, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like or
Yeah.
yeah, or like a nicely painting the picture, you know. So it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good when the truth comes out because it will disrupt everything, hopefully to the better, you know. And
I
because
hope so.
I'm such a, I mean, my biggest activism is injustice, and that's always been like that since I've been a child. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, this is like, I mean, I have been really scared to walk to on the protest. I walked one on Pride on Sunday at
Mm-hmm.
the periphery, but it felt really good and it felt really powerful.
Yeah.
And you know, whatever you can do, I think this is the moment where we can't be silent or bystanders, even if we are with the
I
movement.
definitely agree. Definitely agree. There is a lot we can do.
There's
There's a
action.
lot of great things that we can support and donate to.
I did that too. Yeah.
ACLU, Black
Yes.
Lives Matter.
I
Yeah.
did the Bail Project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
It's important. So
It's important.
can't be bystanders because then we are just silent and we're just kind of
I agree. I
doesn't.
agree. Totally.
Yeah. So what's the rest of your day look like? Are you making some more music?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am
Cool.
getting some. Yep. I actually have a session that was sent to me that I'm going to work on. And yeah, just doing some cool, fun stuff.
Awesome.
As
When is
long
the
as
riot?
soon as the jackhammering stops.
Oh, that was there. Okay, I was wondering what that was. I hope.
Outside my house is so noisy. I have to, but then when it's quiet, you're like, oh my God, it's such a relief.
But again, now you know you can do that thing again. Okay, the jackhammers, just like you know the
I
white
can
noise
do
in
that
the
thing.
background.
Some things are harder than others. Like jackhammers are a little hard, but I can also get on my bike and roll down to the beach with my dog.
Right.
So
That's,
wait for the noise to pass.
how is it down there at the beach? Is it with the right? Is there a lot of people right now, or is it?
I've been avoiding like that whole beach lately, and I just go the back way and
Okay.
go down to the jetty kind of thing. So
Uh-huh.
I don't. It's not great. It's not great because we have such an incredible homeless problem down
Mm.
there, and they either sometimes they shut down the bike path, like over the weekend they shut down the bike path, shut down the beach,
Really?
and um, and there's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of the feeling down there isn't great because there's a lot of people who really need assistance and they're not getting it. And
Mhm.
it's so annoying because that's what this guy who got in on the basis of helping the homeless, and they put so much money into it. But I don't know, the money is going they're realizing there's so much corruption in the LA system that
Mhm.
so much money is going to these corporations and these developers to build these crazy houses, but there's transitional housing. But where were they going to transition to? We
Yeah.
have to raise that. There has to be jobs available that pay more on
Yeah.
the front. There's these jobs that are like on the front line. They have to pay more, and they have to provide more affordable living.
Yeah, but I think there's a deeper problem, like in the core, is like why are so many people even homeless? There's such a broken system, and I mean, you know, I'm talking from a very privileged like situation, but when you get sick, which I did last year, and you have a lot of medical bills, you can go bankrupt in a second, and
Yeah.
then it's like a snowball effect too. That nobody will insure you, or you have pre existing conditions and
Yeah.
so forth, you know. So the system is kind of like catapulting all these people into situations like that to even become homeless. So I think, you know, yes, we need the housing, and yes, we need to take care of the homeless, but we also need to take care of the root of that problem.
Oh, totally. We have, I mean, the fact we don't have standardized health care for people, you know, just free health care, free mental care. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think instead of this ridiculous drug war, put money into rehab. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. But it goes to show you the people in power want to stay in power, and they want to control the finances, and they don't,
It's all
you know.
about the bottom line. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it is an exciting time of change, you
Yeah.
know, as long as we don't give in and we keep pushing. I mean, the environment, I mean, the Arctic is on fire right now.
Yeah.
So we have made, I mean, just like the coronavirus is our environment. It's as dangerous as the coronavirus. We have got to get it together.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there fighting the good fight, you know.
Yeah.
And I like to focus on the positive, and I also like to kind of minimize, you know, the access to news, because I don't need to know about every little shit this like 45 says or whatever happened yesterday.
Right.
But I think we all need to be focused what we can do, what
Yeah.
actions we can do, what support we can give, and
Yeah.
most importantly, how do we show up for ourselves every day and stay
Yeah.
positive so we can be a beacon of light, you know, and shine a light for others.
I agree. All important things.
Yeah, just like Jessy. Be like Jessy. Be like a beacon of light.
Andrea.
Very important. No, it's awesome that every time I speak to you, that I feel like very much connected, because
Yay.
we both kind of like, I think, have the same intentions and visions in different ways and actions we do.
Yeah, totally ditto here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yay.
Thank you so much for giving me
So
your
my
time
pleasure. So
and
my pleasure.
chatting, and I hope I can come down. Well, keep me posted when the
I
path
will.
open.
Yeah, we have to do a bike ride with the
You have a
dog.
second bike with the baskets?
I do. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, because I'm not doing anything.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I know.
But yeah, I need my little ocean fix. It's so healing to be down by the sea.
Yes, absolutely. I know. There is definitely a power from the, you know.
Put the
I
feet in
mean,
the sand for some grounding.
yeah. I am not sure how long I'm going to be able to live here, because Venice is so incredibly expensive, but I definitely want to stay near the ocean.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah. Well, talking about manifesting, you've been very good at that all your life.
Yes, that's true. I have been very blessed, so I'm sure we'll continue.
Yeah, it's always like we always have to focus on the things, and that's where where the energy flows. I feel, you know, like keep the interest in that what you want, and diminish the distractions.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yay!
Awesome.
Long distance hugs.
Big hugs. See you soon. Thank
So great
you.
to talk to you.
Good. Bye, Jessy.
Bye, sweetie. I'll keep you posted.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.